Interior of the Geller house. That's what we call it. We call it the Geller house. It was also Lane Kim's house from Gilmore Girls. This house just up here looks very new because they just finished refurbishing it. This is the Seaver house from the show Growing Pains.
Oh.
It's the outside of their home. But my favorite was this. This was used in the movie Gremlins. Back in the 80s, this was the town from Gremlins, and this was Mrs. Deagle's house. The little old lady with all the cats that she names after currency from around the world. Give me a dollar bill. That's a quote from the movie, by the way. Come here, dollar bill. Oh yeah, I was about to talk about that. So guys, check this out. Over on your right, look at that. City Hall. Yay! It's just City Hall. This building pretty much always plays City Hall or the police station or something like that. It was a town hall in the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou with George Clooney. If you look near the end of the film, there's a big town hall meeting. This is the outside of it. But this is the town hall. If I drive over here, the same building also just happens to be the high school. Because this building is a facade. There's nothing inside. And if you'll notice, we plant a bunch of large bushes and trees on the corners of the structure, so that when you're in the middle of the town, you can't see all the different sides of the building. There's 4 different sides, each one is something different. The opposite end is the fire station. And this side, just around the corner over here, this side we use as Pasadena for the Big Bang Theory. Kind of. If you look just over here on your right, there's a small white storefront. It's currently a lighting shop, at least according to the window dressing. This is where we filmed the outside of Sheldon's apartment. But please note, I said where, not what. Because this is not what it looks like on the show, not even close. There's a small set piece we have called a plant-on facade, and it sticks onto the building while we film. As soon as we're done filming, we tear the thing down and throw it back in storage.
Wow.
But this is the same sidewalk where Sheldon was once chased by a Rottweiler. Because he had a hot dog in his pocket? Yeah. All out here. Also, one of my favorite things to show people on tour, just because it's, again, unusual. Over on your left-hand side is Central Park from Friends.
Wow, it's little.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? That's it.
They had the rugby scene.
The rugby game, yeah, back in season 5. This is the whole rugby match.
Wow. And Phoebe was running like crazy too.
Actually, the Phoebe running thing is around the corner.
Oh, okay.
We have 2. They're not much bigger than this. Yeah. Now, given Miss Patty's dance studio from Gilmore Girls was not here yet, this green and white building, that wasn't there when we made Friends. So the grass was a little bit bigger, but not by much. And the amazing thing is that we get away with it, and it's all through the power of suggestion. In the episode, all they say is, we're gonna go play rugby at the park. We show you grass and trees and you buy it. It's fantastic. And guys, since we were just in the Midwest, you get a great view of it now. Since we were just in the Midwest, it kind of sort of makes sense that we're now rounding the corner over here into Chicago. Welcome. This is our Chicago set because of the elevated train tracks over here on your right-hand side. These were constructed for our TV show ER back in 1995. ER was one of our longest running dramas, ran for 15 seasons here. They were here at these L tracks all the time. Right behind the L tracks, the bluish gray building with the white trim and the very Art Deco styling on it, that was the Gotham City Hall of Records from Batman Returns. Directed by Tim Burton, that was the first Batman movie to film here on the lot. And there's a great scene with Danny DeVito out on the steps talking about his birth. He's been inside rifling through the records, finding out that his real name is Oswald Cobblepot. Great little moment. And over to your left, that's New York Street. Yes, Chicago, New York are right next door. I know. You get over it after a while.
What's all the metal things on top of all these buildings?
Oh, those are safety scaffolds. Safety railings for the technicians that work up there. Sometimes we do hang lights on them, but not all the time. They are primarily just for safety purposes. There's a lot of regulations and union stuff about if you're up a certain height, you have to be clipped into something. And so the tech guys will be clipped in up there when they're working. Yeah. By the way, New York is where we filmed the great Harrison Ford sci-fi movie Blade Runner. This was futuristic Los Angeles, which I think is funny because it filmed on New York Street in real Los Angeles. And part of what those were used for, not necessarily these ones, but older versions of them, we hung black fabric over the entire thing of New York Street to make it look like it was nighttime all the time, so we could film during the day. And if you watch the movie, it's nighttime a lot. It's also very wet, because we sprayed water over everything, too. And we're going to come back and see New York in a little bit. We're not going to just have that view of it. We're going to go check out something else, and we'll be back there in a few minutes. The next one we're going to check out is also New York. We have two of them, and it's called Hennessy Street. It was named after Dale Hennessy. He was the production designer for a movie called Annie back in 1981. And this is where we filmed the original movie, Annie. And remember, all the brick is fake. Yeah. Hennessy Street, by the way, is about 90 years old. It was the first backlot that we constructed here at the studio when we bought it back in 1928. So, a couple things out here on Hennessy. I mentioned the Annie movie. The Annie Orphanage is still here. It's just here on your right-hand side. It's a tan brick building. It's about 4 stories tall. It looks a little bit different than how it did in the movie. It's been updated since the early 80s, but it is the same building. And if you look up into the second story window, you can see all the way through the structure. It's another facade. We don't film on the interior of most of these buildings. We just use them for exterior shots. Back in season 4 of Friends, there's an awesome episode called The One with Joey's New Girlfriend. Her name is Kathy, and Chandler falls in love with her, and he sees her jogging on the street, and he chases her. And he ends up running into a bunch of stuff. He's jumping across all these taxi cabs. That was all filmed out here in Hennessy Street. If you want to see it, it's on Netflix, season 4, episode 10, about 10 minutes in. My wife and I just finished binging the entire series last week. Yeah, we watch a lot of TV. But this street, by the way, this has been Gotham City more than anywhere else in the world. Specifically in the 90s, we made 3 different movies here for Batman. And each time, a different Batmobile drove down the street. In Batman Returns, the Penguin takes control of the Batmobile, starts crashing into things. You can see Hennessy in the background. Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold, he ices over the road. This is the road. The ice, by the way, was plexiglass and plastic. And Chris O'Donnell, he's playing Robin, he borrows the Batmobile for a joyride and then crashes it. That was all done back here, and the fascinating thing about that moment and why I bring it up is because Chris O'Donnell is the only actor ever allowed to drive a Batmobile during filming. And he actually crashed it. He caused thousands of dollars of damage to the car. And no one's ever allowed to drive them now. He ruined it for everybody else. Chris. A couple of the most recent productions to film out here in Hennessy. A couple of commercials have used this. The biggest one is a Best Buy commercial that was here last October. They were doing a Christmas commercial for Christmas time. All that fake snow I was talking about earlier, they did the entire street in fake snow for about 2 seconds of footage. They closed it for a week for about 2 seconds of footage. Theatrically speaking, the most recent production was doing, it was San Andreas. It's a new movie that we're coming out with this summer with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. They did some pickup shots in here a few weeks ago. And, this is one of my favorites now, there's a new Marvel TV show called Agent Carter. It's a sequel to Captain America and a prequel to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This was 1946 New York City. And if you watch it, it's on abc.com. You can see all of Hennessy Street in that couple of episodes. They only made 8. Also, by the way, anybody see the movie Argo? Great movie, Argo. We won the Best Picture for it a couple years ago. Right near the end of that film, there's a ringing phone. It's a very stressful moment in the movie. The ringing phone, 2 characters get stuck behind a film shoot. The film shoot was right here. This section of the street was where that movie shoot was happening, with a really bad fight choreography. It was terrible. But what I love about that moment is how realistic it was. Because of this building up here, over on your right-hand side, this is Studio 6 Productions in the movie Argo. Yeah, it's a second motel office building. We have 2 of them. Oh, and by the way, guys, if you want to get a photo of the water tower, this is probably the best shot you're going to get all day. I park over here for a minute in case anybody wants a photo of the most iconic thing on the lot. But while you're doing that, I'll be talking about the Argo thing. This is what I love about that moment. The 2 characters in that shot were doing exactly what every single employee on this lot does at some point. They were taking a shortcut through the back lot, and they got stuck. It happens to real people all the time. I have a radio with me so that I know when things close. Most people don't have a clue. And if you come into Hennessy Street from the other end where they were coming from, you can't see this. And once you're in Hennessy, there's no way out. You have to use the main exits. There's no other doors out of the street. And so they had to cut through to get back to the office, just like you'd have to do in real life. Fun little piece of realism they added to the movie. They didn't have to, but I'm glad they did, because it was a nice touch for me. Also over here on the ground on your right-hand side, there's a black X with a red H in the middle of it, right next to us on the ground. That's the helipad from ER. For 15 seasons, we put a green screen around the thing. Yup. We use green screen a lot, by the way, guys. I don't know if you are aware of that, but green screen is all over the place in Hollywood. It is here to stay. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna go check out a little museum. We'll be there for about 15 minutes, give or take. But before we get there, I want to show you one of my favorite things on the lot. But to see this, you gotta pay attention very carefully. If you're not looking, you will miss this. That would be just a terrible